Hi, I'm Blake from BA Electronics, and you might have noticed that my desk area is a little bit different. That's because I actually built a new desk. So this desk was made out of red oak planks. Me and my dad doweled them and put them all together, sanded down the surface, stained it, made a pretty nice little desk. But there's one twist. It's a floating desk. Now, if you don't know what a floating desk is, it's actually held up on the wall completely by 4 brackets. And the way it's set up right now, it could probably hold about 2,000 pounds just on these 4 brackets. So I thought I'd make a video on how I made this desk, and maybe you'd even want to make your own. So let's get right into it. So the first step was gathering the wood that we were going to use for this project. We chose 4 planks of 8-foot long red oak. We also got some dowels to bind these boards together. Next, we took the boards home and began laying them out on the table. We put them all together and began drawing lines on them. The purpose of drawing these lines is to make sure the dowels line up with each other. We used a doweling jig and put it over one of the lines we just drew on one of the planks. We made sure it is totally perpendicular to the board and begin drilling holes through it. We repeated this process for every side of the board except 2 sides, which will be the front and the back of the desk. Next, we put a drop of wood glue inside each and every one of the holes to make sure the dowels stayed stuck inside the holes. Next, we stood the boards up on their side and lined 2 of the boards together, making sure that the dowels meet up with each other. We pushed those 2 together, and then we did that for the other 2 boards, doing the same, putting the glue in the holes, putting the dowels in the holes, and then pushing the boards together. It's good to have a helper when doing this, because holding the boards up and doing the dowels at the same time is a pretty difficult task. Next, once all the boards were together, we laid the desk down flat and put clamps over all the boards to make sure that they stay together while drying. Also, make sure to wipe down any glue residue that seeped up from the holes, as this can be difficult to remove once it's dried. Once everything was dry, we got out our sanders and started sanding the top of the surface. When sanding, you want to start with a medium grit, around 100 grit. Now sand the surface for about 30 minutes to get out all the lumps and smoothen down the surface. Once you're done with the 100 grit, move on to 220 grit, which is a finer type of sandpaper. Do the same as you did with the 100 grit, and then move from the 220 to a 300 grit to completely finish the surface off and get it ready for staining. So I chose a very dark color of stain, but there are a ton of different colors that you can pick from. First, dip your paintbrush into the can, not dipping it in all the way, and then apply it to the surface of the desk going with the grain, not against the grain. Now I chose to do 3 coats of this stuff. Next it's time to wax the surface. We tried using cleaner wax, but it didn't really work. We tried some turtle wax and that worked a lot better. So the finished surface was all shiny and dark colored, so now it's time to take it upstairs. But before we can install it to the wall, we have to install the brackets that connect the desks to the wall. First step is to make sure all your brackets are perfectly level. If they're not perfectly level, the desk surface will not be perfectly level. Once all the brackets are lined up, mark the places where you need to drill holes. The brackets need to be placed on top of any studs in the wall. Next, drill the holes with a bit slightly smaller than the screws you're using. Then put some screws through the bracket to screw it into place. Once they're screwed in, check your leveling once again, because you want to make sure this is absolutely level. Then you can go ahead and place the surface on top of the brackets, just as kind of a test fit. Once you're sure it lines up with all the brackets and is level, you can put screws through the bracket and into the board. Make sure these screws aren't very long, or else they'll penetrate through the top of the desk. And you don't want screws sticking out and poking your arm while you're working. Once that's done, well, you're completely done. So this is what the finished desk looks like. As you can see, it has no legs, which makes it look really seamless on the wall. Now, some people came to take my old desk, which you may have seen in a lot of my older videos. I'm kinda sad to see that desk go, but I think it worked out in the end, because I got an awesome floating desk out of it, and I think it's even more stable than that 100-year-old antique desk that I previously had. So as you can see, building your own desk is pretty easy. You just need to make sure you have all the tools and watch a lot of videos on YouTube on how to do it. You know, YouTube is for educational purposes, right? So thanks for watching, leave a comment if you have one, give it a like if you enjoyed this project, and subscribe to the channel for more electronics related stuff just like this.